Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
Pluck walleyes out of an old chisel plow. Pretty much every waypoint that you know about, if it's fish related, you can pretty much go into the next year and delete it.
Every degree that we feel a difference in, it's almost like a 10-degree difference for a fish.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in across the radio network, by demand, sportingjournalradio.com, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see we're out of the studio, Dan.
We are overlooking a very cold and windy Devil's Lake.
Yeah. We're up here for an AGLOW media camp right now, based out of Woodland Resort here. So we're sitting in one of the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom suites. Dog friendly. Tiny and Mika with us right now. And Kevin Paulson is here. We're going to try to get him on the show this week. The executive director of AGLOW, Pat Calmerton and Susie Kenner, of course. Johnnie Candle is with us. A number of people, like media people.
I can't keep them straight.
I know, but there's so many people here, and different TV shows and things like that. So we're going to be learning more about some of the things you can do in Devil's Lake, not just on the lake, but we're going to do some fishing while we're here as well too.
Well, I'd hope so.
Yeah,
that's what we do for a living.
Well, kind of, yeah. But we got to we got to meet the guys. Stayed up a little late last night. First night in Camp Syndrome.
Yep.
But that's all right. So it's been a good time. We're going to get to all that. We're also going to talk to Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism to find out what's going on up there, because he's got his big old annual meeting this week right now too, up at the Northwest Angle. So
awesome.
We're going to talk to him about RABCs and what the situation is with that, the remote area border crossing permit. If you've been following that situation, we'll see if there's an update about that coming up later in the show. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week on the show?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods this summer at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with the code SJR20. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake this summer. Learn more at haybaleHeights.com. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Prairie Sportsman. The last episode of the new season just aired last week, and you can watch all of those episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Plan a trip to the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. Fly directly from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
All right, Dan, so we're going to do some fishing up here at Devil's Lake during this AGLOW media camp, and we're going to eat some sushi.
Apparently, that's a new one to me, but I maybe they sell cheeseburgers too.
They do sell cheeseburgers.
Oh.
Are you a sushi eater?
I don't know if I've ever had it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'd catch walleyes and eat walleyes. Yeah, that's what I do.
So we'll see if they have any
from Minnesota.
Walleye sushi.
I would guess not.
Yeah, probably.
Probably not.
I don't know. It's supposed to be really good here in Devil's Lake, so we're going to try to do that for lunch. And then I see, like, even Jason Mitchell is parked right outside our hotel room here right now.
Is his boat still on the trailer, or is he in the water?
No, boat's still on the trailer.
Yeah. Well, probably wanted lunch.
So maybe he just came for lunch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Take a look at the lake, see if he wants to fish, eat some lunch. Trailer's shiny crestliner around. Yeah.
It's pretty wild, Dan. You know, we had 90-degree temps when I shot that turkey the other day. It was 91 degrees. And I think today when we got up, it was like 38 degrees or something.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, to be fair, we are like 300 miles north. So that's a big change in climate. You know, I think people forget when you expand north and south across Minnesota just how far it is. If we were to go 300 miles south, it'd probably be 90 degrees today and
might be
rip through tornadoes. But it still is spring in the Midwest despite the weather we had, and so it still gets cold.
Well, what's really crazy about it is, the reason I bring it up is because right now, as we're recording this, it's 39 degrees and raining here in Devil's Lake, but they had like 8 days in a row of 90-degree temps just prior to this cold front.
Yep.
And it dropped the water temp. I've heard anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees it dropped the water temp.
Yeah. Well, it's, things are fluid right now, and that water was probably just starting to warm up, so you don't have it set. And you got to also remember when you're looking at your graph, it's surface temp, right? So what's happening 20 feet down isn't necessarily what's happening at the surface, and that water can change this time of year. I could see it changing, your mornings are probably still chilly. Even when it gets to 90 degrees, you're probably starting a day around 60 degrees. Your nights are chilly. So that water temp will fluctuate within the day, but yeah, it's not exactly the most ideal thing for fish to have that water temp go backwards like that. And I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think like every degree that we feel a difference in, it's almost like a 10-degree difference for a fish. So
right.
It's quite the swing.
Well, and we're, because we're up here in the AGLOW Media Camp and our schedule's kind of fluid and things are changing, instead of being on the water, we're actually changed our schedule and moved it around, and we're recording a bunch of interviews today. So
if you couldn't tell,
we're doing things a little bit early, but so it's 39 here in Devil's Lake. It's about midday. It's 47 back home. Yeah. So it's, it's still pretty cold back home
for
too.
sure.
But, it's still spring. I mean, it's not even Memorial Day yet. So, I guess up at Lake of the Woods, they had snow the other day.
I believe it.
So
doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me anymore.
No, not at all. Memorial Day weekend is coming up, Dan. You got some fishing plans?
Not one. Not a single plan.
No?
I don't know. So who's going to take me? I don't have a boat that runs.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're working on that. All right. What's your plan, Dan? If you were going to head out here today, we might try to find a place to shore fish yet. What's your go-to, you think?
I have no idea. I've never fished this lake open water.
That's true.
It's all brand new. I don't know. I'd have to go see the water a little bit, figure that one out.
All right. So it's a little cloudy right now, a little stirred up. I heard last night that your water clarity in some spots is about this much.
Okay.
Maybe not even a foot, really, just because of the wind and rain.
Sure.
So she's a little dirty.
Okay.
And you're probably gonna be fishing maybe riprap shoreline.
Okay.
Maybe wind blowing into it.
Well, that'd be ideal. It's usually a good place to start. Right now the wind's blowing right in here. Honestly, there was guys fishing off the dock last night that might be able to go bomb something off the dock there and catch something. That's the cool part about this fishery and the Dakotas is obviously you come here for the walleyes, the winter you come here for the perch, but there's a lot of other fish in this lake that are fun to catch, and it's almost like a river system in a way, where if you change your mindset of let's just go catch fish, not necessarily let's go catch walleyes, you have a lot of fun even if you don't catch a walleye. And it's something I think a lot of people need to change their mindset on. They get so disappointed. You catch this fish, you're like, oh, this is awesome. What is it? You fight it. You have a great time reeling this fish in, and then it hits the surface, and it's a drum or a white bass. You're like, oh, that sucks. Well, why? You just had fun for the 30 seconds you reeled that fish in. But the only reason you're disappointed is because it's not what you're going for. And obviously, when you go out with the mindset of what you want, what you want to target, that's your goal to catch it, and you want to accomplish that. So there's a factor there. But if we just go out there, especially when you're shore fishing, and take a crankbait or a swim bait and bomb it around and just catch fish and have fun, it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, what do all anglers say, right? The tug is the drug, right? So why wouldn't you, if it's a white bass or it's a sheephead or whatever it is? I know you're always especially when we've caught some tank sheepheads when we're walleye fishing. So there's naturally going to be some disappointment when it comes up to the surface and you don't see the white tip, or whatever. You realize that it's not a walleye. But man, some of those sheephead, like the one we've talked about it on the show plenty of times, but that one that your dad caught, which was almost 40 inches or whatever it was. That's a huge fish to catch.
Huge fish, old fish. It's always cool to see the power that these fish have, the age that they are, the fact that there's critters swimming around our waters that are that big, that old is simply pretty cool.
Yeah, man, this is, even though it's kind of cold and windy and rainy and we'd rather be on the water right now, it's hard to complain about what we get to do coming from Punta Gorda, catching tarpon and Goliath grouper, come up here to Devil's Lake.
Well, I'll tell you what, if someone wants to do what we do, I'll gladly let them come in here and edit this radio. And I'm going to go fishing.
It is work. There's no question that we do a little bit of work. And obviously we've been up here to Devil's Lake. We've been working with Hay Bale Heights Campground and Resort for a number of years, and we spent time in the Snow Bear this year with hay bale this winter. And that's kind of a whole experience in itself, like up here in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's a different world up here. The snow bear thing is taken off, and the way perch fishing is, it's almost the necessity to try to chase nomadic perch around a big basin like this. This is a lot of water here to cover, and to try to do it in a portable or a snowmobile, especially when we're up north, it gets cold. That's a tricky thing. So those snow bears are pretty neat machines, and almost necessary up here, and we've started to see them expanding to Minnesota and South Dakota and Lake of the Woods even, so Lake Winnipeg, same thing, big deal up there.
Well, Hay Bale Heights Campground Resort, great place if you're looking to come up here, trailer your boat, and stay in a cabin this summer, or if you want to do some winter fishing up here. We're actually up here for the AGLOW Media Camp. It's Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers. They were just in Fort Myers last week. We've gone to Niagara River. We've been down to Branson. We're going to be in Eau Claire for the annual conference in September. This is one of the benefits of being a member of AGLOW. And for this trip, we're based out of Woodland Resort. Tiny is whining at Jason Mitchell right now out in the parking lot. So
they're buddies. Remember they met at Tazen, and
that's right.
Tiny interrupted the intro for their show and wanted to throw a stick. So they're buddies. She sees her buddy.
Tiny has been on a lot of different TV shows, not just our stuff.
Involuntarily.
Yeah, she just makes herself part of the show.
She decided she didn't want to sit anymore after I told her to sit, and interrupted the show.
Well, we've got a whole list of people that we're going to be interviewing for this show right here. We're going to try to squeeze them in this week. If not, we'll probably have some next week on the show. But people like Kevin Paulson from the executive director here at AGLOW will be talking about more benefits that you can experience if you want to join, if you want to work in the outdoor industry. He's actually, if you're looking for a job in the outdoor industry, he's got some tips for you there as well too, where you can find job openings. Johnnie Candle, Jared P12, Puck.
Weird name.
I always forget how to pronounce his last name.
Puck something. I'm going to say a naughty word on the radio show.
Yeah.
I keep trying to pronounce his name.
Aaron McCoy.
Yep. Not Eric. Aaron.
Yep. Aaron McCoy.
Related to Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Not Eric.
Came from the Mille Lacs area. Now has a place here on Devil's Lake as well too. There's a room full of guides and media people and tourism people.
Zippy joins the show.
Steve Zippy Dahl as well. So, and we're actually going to dig into some of the history of this lake, how it grew, how they put outlets into it, how some towns disappeared, and some of the weirdest structure that these guys have fished, all either on this week and next week here on the show. So we should probably take a break, and we'll have more from Devil's Lake coming up on Sporting Journal Radio.
Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Hay Bale Heights Campground and Resort. Hay Bale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Hay Bale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
Now Joe Henry joins us from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, how's it going?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Where are you at? You're not at home.
I'm up in the northwest angle, baby.
Very nice. What's going on up there?
Well, we got each year we hold what we call a resort stakeholder meeting. So we have our resorts and our guides and some community members, along with some of the different agencies that we do work with. DNR Fisheries, DNR Enforcement, Coast Guard, Border Protection, U.S. Customs, Canada Border Services Agency, Lake of the Woods Soil and Water Conservation District. We got some legislative representation, Canadian Consulate, just a whole bunch of different folks, and we pull together one big powwow per year. And it's this afternoon here up at the northwest angle, and. Yeah, good at least once a year.
All right, so you don't have any news to share with us then from the meeting yet?
Not from the meeting, but I can tell you that just doing a little bit of fishing off the dock. Caught a few fish so far, and I haven't been out on a boat, but Fishing's been good up here at the northwest angle, and the season's really up here just getting going. I mean, some people come up for the opener, but really Memorial Day is kind of the start for a lot of people up here, at the angle. And but things are buzzing. I mean, resorts are open, ready to roll. Some people are already here fishing. I was at the buoy this morning, and there were some people taking pictures by the buoy. So yeah, it's going, just like Brett.
Oh yeah. Well, what do you think is going to be the hot topic at your meeting? Is there anything planned for the agenda that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, when we go to the Northwest Angle, there's always topics about, coming into Canada. So things like the remote area border crossing permit, how, if you've had a permit since September of 23, they'll honor that through December 21 of 25. However, if you don't have an RABC permit right now, there's not an application process that's possible. So you can't get one for the time being as they review their application process. And that's Canadian Border Services Agency, CBSA. So that's a hot topic because that permit's very important up here for our not only our residents, but also our guides who want their clients to get an RABC before they come up. Things like what you can bring over the border, things like goods in transit.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, Joe, because the RABC is exactly what I was going to ask you about. I was wondering if that was going to be brought up.
Oh yeah. No, we've been communicating. I mean, I've had communication with different legislators and Canada Border Services Agency and others who are in Canadian consulate, and right now the message is the same: is that CBSA is just kind of they have that program on hold, and that program, people might say, is that because of some of the politics going on between the U.S. and Canada? But I got to tell you that program was on hold well before some of the different tariff discussions and things like that came up. So I think that they're just reviewing the process, and sometimes governmental agencies don't always give you a time frame on when they're going to complete it and that sort of thing, and that's what's.
And they never finish things ahead of the deadline either.
Well, I hate to say it, it's almost like building a house. How often do you know a house that gets done ahead of time?
Right.
But out of fairness, we do work with some good people up here. Even working with CBSA, Canada Border Services Agency, and some of the different groups, we got some contacts that have been very helpful. And a lot of times it's not fair to them too. I mean, they're trying to help us out. At the same time, they have a job to do and they have to follow orders. And heck, there's times that I know information before they do, which has to be frustrating for them, being that they're part of the agency. They are the agency. Mm-hmm. So it's not perfect for them either, and we understand that. And I think you got to do the best you can to work together to accomplish things. And the one saying is, and Bret, you've heard this before: don't use government and logic in the same sentence. They don't always fit.
Right. Exactly. Well, hopefully that discussion goes well, and I know that's always an important meeting for you every year. I'm sure some other things will be discussed, but let's talk fishing for people that want to do some fishing up there. I'd assume you're going to get some time in on the water at the angle?
I'm hoping to get one day of fishing before I have to head back. Yeah. Yep. But, right now the bite up here is more, it's early, right? So the water's cold and it's been windy. It's been, a lot of pressure systems coming through. So, I think the one key is you always want to find clean water if you can. If the water's real stirred up in shallower areas where there's mud, that's going to be dirty and that's hard to catch fish in. So ideally you want to find clean water. And then the overall bite has been shoreline structures. So, up here, things like, points, underwater points, neck down areas where there's maybe a little bit of water flowing through. And then just, transition areas along the shoreline coming off that first break. A lot of walleyes are still hanging on there. And, we find the walleyes, but you'll catch your saugers, your jumbo perch, your pike, and your smallmouth bass. So there's a lot of fish to be had up here. It's always multi-species. Bret, down on the south end, it's also been a jig bite, and we still have some leftover walleyes in the Rainy River that people are picking away on, and that actually has been really good fishing. And then along that whole south shore, and it's interesting because the depth of water that these fish are being caught in, it's anywhere from 8 to 31 feet of water. That's a big spread, but as not every fish in the system is targeting on the same forage or doing the same thing. And but it's been a wide spread of where those fish are at. But thankfully, there's a lot of different schools of fish, and overall, people have been doing well catching. A little bit tougher when it's if we get a real hard blow out of the north or something, then most people gravitate towards the river, or if they're at the angle, they can hide behind an island or get into one of the, the inlets. But we just got to play the weather. And, the weather is that one thing we can't control, but thankfully, we have a lot of options up here.
Well, and we're dealing with that right now where we're at 40-mile-an-hour winds. And, Joe, I don't know about the water temps up there, but here, from what I've heard, they've dropped 20 degrees in the last couple of days, the water temps have.
Yeah, I fished a little tournament in central Minnesota this weekend, and it was the same thing. Water temperature had actually dropped, and it was a very, very tough bite. And, you make the best of it and you still go fishing, but, you really have to I guess adapt and understand that sometimes fronts will affect the bite, and you do your best, thankfully up here you're still going to catch some fish, even when fishing's tough. You might not catch as many as you normally would, or as many as you'd like, but you're still going to catch enough, and typically catch enough for a fish fry.
Well, and on those blow days, I know when I've been up there and it's gotten a little bit windy, you fish the river. If you're down on the south.
That's exactly right. Well, and even now up at the Northwest Angle, I have meetings today, but a couple of my family members are fishing while I work, and they've been fishing off the docks, catching some decent fish too, and just picking away at them. But already they picked away enough fish probably for a fish fry tonight if we wanted one, and you make do, right? But there's a lot of fish to be had, and that's the saving grace. You always find a few biting fish.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe. Well, we'll let you get back after it. Enjoy your time up there. Good luck with the meeting and everything. And if people want to plan a trip to Lake of the Woods this summer, what should they do?
Yeah, hey, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
The official dogs of Sporting Journal Radio, Tiny and Mika right there, and Kevin Paulson, the executive director of AGLOW, joins us right now. Kevin, welcome back to Devil's Lake.
Hey, thank you. It's been like 40 years, I think. I think I was like 13 or 14 the last time I was here.
Your dad was from here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We did kind of a family pilgrimage to come back and see the family farm and see my great-grandmother who lived in Tolna. And I think she passed away a couple years later. But it was just like one of those things. She was 90-something years old. But we got to come here and see the family farms, and I fell in love with the place. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a neat area, for sure.
sure.
Probably looked a little bit different back then. You may not remember what it looked like exactly.
I don't think the lake was quite as big at that time.
No, it definitely wasn't, yeah. That's wild. So, and you're in Nebraska now?
Yeah, in Nebraska now.
All right. Now, you don't quite have lakes like this in Nebraska.
No. I mean, McConaughey, but it's a whole different side of the state.
Is that a reservoir?
It's a big reservoir,
Yeah. Because I remember, I've snow goose hunted down there. We did some guiding down there a few years back, and I just remember driving across Nebraska, and I'm like, there's no lakes. It's all rivers and streams.
We have lots of little like pothole lakes where they made 80 basically, like going down the middle of the state that everybody drives on. Everybody's like, this is the most boring like road I've ever been on. They're like, oh yeah, driving through Nebraska, it's like incredibly boring. I'm like, yeah. But that's because you never get off that one road. If you get off and go south, then you get to see kind of the sand hills in the north, or you get to see the canyons in the south. Like there's lots of things in Nebraska that are amazing. Yeah. But most people never see that because they just never get off that freeway.
Sure. Yeah, they're driving through.
Yeah, they're going the West Coast, or they're going to the East Coast, or going to Denver, or, coming through.
Well, it's we've only been here for a day so far, as of the time of this recording, and she's a little chilly out there.
Oh yeah, this is mid Dakotas, this is what it is in Nebraska right now. It's as windy as can be right at the moment.
But I guess we're gonna go have sushi today.
It's so weird to me, like sushi and Devil's Lake on a Tuesday. Like, okay, I think I'll be eating the tempura because I'm gonna make sure that's cooked, but. Yeah.
I think if I was running a sushi shop in Devil's Lake, I would somehow make it with perch.
Yeah.
I would do perch. I don't know a lot about sushi, but I would roll up perch with rice and whatever else they put in there.
I like the idea.
I'd cook it first.
I would too.
But we're going to get the chance. I mean, everybody knows about the fishery, and we're going to do some fishing yet on this trip, but we're going to try to uncover some of those other, hidden gems or stories that people haven't heard about the area while we're here.
I'm excited just to get out with my camera and shoot duck pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, I must have saw 20 different species of duck yesterday driving in here. And so I'm excited about that. I saw a ton of deer right out outside. I mean, we're here at the Woodland Resort Lodge, and literally on the drive in, I probably saw 25 deer coming in. So I'm excited to go shoot some pictures of that, get to see that. Drive around some of the wildlife management areas in the area and look for public hunting land.
Yeah, and that's that's one thing that's overlooked in the spring is, Devil's Lake is kind of that prairie pothole region, so it's a great breeding area for waterfowl. But seeing them in the spring, in their breeding plumage, it's what a lot of waterfowl photographers, wildlife photographers do. They'll just come and drive around and look for little potholes or public land and stuff like that for photography. So that is something that people can do here. I know when we were coming over, driving up here, Chase and Walter called us. He's like, "Hey, you got your camera?" Yeah, well, yeah.
I got all of them.
Got all the cameras with. He goes, "There are so many ducks around." He was stopping at every little pond along the way, and there's so much water up here. There's ducks all over the place, and lots of divers, of course, lots of puddle ducks. So it's one of those things. And if you haven't seen, I'm not going to say the migration is on right now. They're all kind of starting to settle in and nest and things like that. But if you can get over here during the migration, whether it's the snow goose migration or mallards or the divers are kind of cool to follow too. It's really amazing, especially the snow geese. It's a huge spectacle, and you'll see them in Nebraska probably when they come up too. And when they come up, that lead edge of birds, they'll come back in the fall, but in the spring, it's just you'll see thousands of them. I remember the first time I saw it when I moved to North Dakota, and I was living in Fargo. I had some friends that waterfowl hunted, and they're like, what is this spring snow goose thing? And he's like, "Oh, it's amazing. Even if you're not going to hunt, just go look at it." So one day I just drove west from Fargo, and I just went a couple of hours, and all of a sudden I looked, and I could see a string of birds on the horizon. So I pulled over, and I took my camera out, and at one point, in North Dakota, you can see your dog run away for 3 days because it's flat. And everywhere I could see along the horizon to the south, from one end to the other, it was snow geese. Jeez. So it was just this main push, just thousands and thousands of birds. And I don't know, in my brain, I tried to add them up as best I could. And I was in the hundreds of thousands of birds, and who knows how accurate I was, of course. But it's a pretty neat spectacle to see.
Yeah, I go down to Los Bluffs near Mound City, and every January, and I'll photograph the birds down there if I can get in. This year it was covered in snow, so I didn't get a chance to get in. But I try to go down there, and they'll have 3-4 million birds on the refuge. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's the coolest thing in the entire world. And to watch the bald eagles, they come and swoop over top of these birds, and it rises them all up, and some of the birds get hurt, and when they get hurt, the bald eagles go down and they catch easy lunch. So it's kind of cool to see.
It's fun to see, and those birds come up from there, and they come up through South Dakota, and they'll come up through this Devil's Lake. They start to spread out a little bit when they get across North Dakota and head up into Saskatchewan and Alberta and Manitoba. But this area, in the fall, great waterfowl hunting, great fishing, pretty much all year long. It's good fishing, and when Mika's on a slippery floor, she can't stand up very well. Oh. But it's going to be a fun trip, and obviously this is kind of a benefit of being a member of AGLOW, is being able to come to places like this.
Absolutely. I mean, we have this trip. A week ago, we were in Fort Myers, Florida, and we had an amazing trip down there. We caught tarpon and permit and snook and trout and redfish and mangrove snapper. And we had 6 great writers down at that event. We've got 6 or 7 good writers here. We're going to do another one this fall in Niagara, and then next year the goal is 12 of these trips across the country. And so, putting these trips together is an important part of what AGLOW does, and it gets writers into these tourism destinations, usually coupled with a couple of sponsors like a St. Croix Rods or a Ride On Optics or something along that line, that they get to test and utilize the gear right there in the spot. And that makes a big difference for them.
So aside from executive director of AGLOW, what else are you doing, Kevin?
Well, I have, huntinglife.com and Hunting Life magazine that I publish, and the thing that it kind of ties into AGLOW because, we built Hunting Life magazine as a resource for young writers to get their work out there, and so we produce that magazine quarterly. But the other big project that I work on that's like near and dear to my heart, having been in this industry for 20 years, is Outdoor Hive. And it's outdoor-hive.com. And what that is it's a weekly newsletter that specifically lists jobs for companies that are in the shooting world, in the hunting world, in the archery world, or in the sport fishing world. So if companies can either attend or exhibit ICAST or ATA or SHOT Show, they can list a job in our newsletter, and people who want to work in the fishing industry or want to work in the hunting industry can subscribe to this newsletter, and every single Wednesday they're going to get an email that lists 50 to 100 jobs in their email box, and they can look at those jobs and see if they might be a fit for them.
Oh, wow.
And it's really kind of a niche focus, but I started to meet so many people in this industry that, if they, weren't happy in one job, but they still wanted to stay inside this industry, so we created this newsletter specifically for people like that.
All right, where do people sign up for that?
It's outdoor-hive.com.
All right, Kevin. Well, let's get after it. Hopefully we get out on the lake here pretty soon, but we'll go check out more Devil's Lake.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great.
All right, thanks.
You got it.
There we go.
Nice. It's an awesome experience.
Fishing was really good. We got a super monster pike.
That is a great way to start the trip off right there.
Tasman Lake is one of the places that has been on my bucket list for a long time, and watched every Tasman TV episode there is.
Incredible, incredible to see fish like that. Incredible to, fish water where you have the chance to catch fish like that.
Danny, that's the biggest trout you'll ever fight in your life.
Wow, this is a nice one.
Watch Tasman TV and book your trip at TasmanLake.com.
All right, Jared Pokrzywinski joins us now here on the show, which I told him last night he should just change his name to Pokrzywinski. Damn glad to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you too.
Did you ever play hockey or anything?
I did actually. It's a perfect hockey name. You have to with a name like that. So.
What did they call you? Because you had to have a nickname.
So. Well, my most used nickname is actually Poker, which it's P-O-K-R is how it starts.
I
so,
gotcha. Okay.
But if you think of it, I've probably been called it P-12. I was in the military, so my drill instructor. My name starts with a P and there's 12 letters. The tape took up half my chest. He called me P12. And that one actually stuck for a long time too. So, but yeah, I've been called everything in the book.
What'd you do in the military?
I was actually a crew chief on the F-16.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. Did maintenance on tactical aircraft and.
The Top Gun theme song just started playing in my head.
For sure. That's my favorite movie of all time.
So in the new one, I just watched it again on an airplane the other day.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Flying back from Florida. It was cool. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Appreciate that. So what do you do around here at Devil's Lake?
Well, I hunt, I fish, I have a lot of fun. So I wear a lot of hats, I guess. I'm an agronomist by trade.
Oh, wow.
So I work with farmers. That's what I went to school for, but also I help promote Devil's Lake. I'm a part-time fishing guide. I actually work here at Woodland Resort. I sell boats for them. So I'm just kind of a jack of all trades. First of all, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids, so that keeps me very busy. So between taking care of those kids and hunting and fishing, that's what I do.
All right. Well, this is a pretty good area to do that in.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful, and it's a great place to raise a family, too. We love it here.
Are you from here?
I was born in Grand Forks, just 90 miles up Highway 2, but been here most of my adult life, and grew up coming here. My parents have always had a place here since I was a little kid, so this is where we'd come on weekends, so, but yeah, lived here most of my life.
It's funny that you say 90 miles. When I lived in Fargo, we always talked about Devil's Lake being 2 hours away.
Yep.
But when you think about 160 miles or whatever that would be, because it's 70 miles between Fargo and Grand Forks.
Yep.
But you can drive drive a little faster.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, now it's going to be even faster. They're bumping the speed limit up to 80 on the interstate. So
catching up to South Dakota then.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. So we get fishing up here in no time.
Everybody's driving 80 anyway.
They are.
I mean, don't break the law.
Yeah,
adhere to all
exactly.
speed limits.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So, one thing we've been talking about on this show with some of the other guys is just how the lake has changed over the years.
Yeah.
So, like how each year for a while there, I mean, I think it's stabilized to some extent now, but for a while it was fluctuating so much. It was almost like fishing a new body of water each year.
It still is. I mean, literally every year, it's up or down some amount, and pretty much every waypoint that you know about, if it's fish related, you could pretty much go into the next year and delete it, because we don't fish anymore. We don't fish memories, I should say.
Yeah.
You got to fish new fish because those fish are always moving. I do waypoint areas of interest on this lake, or places you don't want to go to. There's a lot of stuff to hit under the water, but when it comes to, I caught a fish here, I'm going to mark a waypoint, it almost does you no good for next year because the fish are constantly moving. So it's really cool. It's a great place to come and use your electronics, because you got to use them. One of the questions I get asked all the time, where should I start fishing? Well, fish where the fish are, right? Use that electronics, go search and fish that. If they're not showing up on the electronics, they're probably not there, but if they are, fish them. So it's kind of fun. It keeps you on your toes all the time.
What's the weirdest piece of structure you fished on this lake?
Well, I just fished one this spring already. That was a sunken fish house, an ice house. So that's kind of cool. Somebody left it out there, and
oh boy,
sunk to the bottom, and that's a pretty good structure. I don't want to tell people there's crappies in this lake, but if there were, it's a pretty good place to look. It's pretty neat. So
it's funny how the crappies are. You'll have, especially on lakes that are big walleye lakes, or they're perch walleye. There's like a big targeted species.
Yep.
Some of them have little hidden populations of crappies, it seems like, or some other fish that nobody talks about.
Yeah, no, and we do. And actually, I was talking with some other guides here last night, and said maybe that is something we should start talking about, because they're here and nobody really targets them. And they're kind of only like a bycatch. You catch them when you're fishing for other stuff. And but I think if a person wanted to get serious, you could.
The white bass fishing here is really taking off.
It's incredible. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's not a fish out there, at least in Devil's Lake, that fights like a white bass. It's just, I know people that come here just for that, actually a significant amount of people, and they're good eating too. I mean, I always tell people, if you had walleye and you had white bass and you cut them all the same size and deep fried them, with some tartar sauce, I don't think you'd tell the difference. Yeah. They're great eating, and just super fun to catch.
Well, it's one of those things we talk about a lot in Minnesota, especially, and the perception of rough fish is starting to change a little bit. Minnesota's starting to put limits on some of these fish, so to give them a little bit more respect, because I think if people see that, there's a limit on this fish, somebody cares about it, there's a reason to care about them. Yep. And I've eaten sheephead, I've eaten white bass, and you might clean them a little bit differently, but again, you fry them up in something, same kind of batter or whatever that you do a walleye in, and you deep fry them, nobody's going to know the difference.
No, it's delicious. Absolutely.
So how big are the white bass getting out here?
Monsters. I mean, we get, 20 plus inches is common. Yeah. We get big ones.
Wow.
So I've caught several in the Whopper Club.
That's 20.
Yeah, I think it's right in that range, and you'll have days, and it seems like the big ones travel with the big ones, and little ones travel with little ones. So when you get into them, it's just it can be one after another. It's just so much fun.
I saw Al Linder was just up here with Johnnie Candle.
Yeah,
and he put a. I think they were filming, and Johnny put a little video up on social media, and Al was just like a kid in a candy store, catching one after another.
That's
of these
awesome.
Things. But I mean, you think about a guy like that, who can go catch whatever he wants, has caught whatever he wants, and he can come out here and spend a couple hours and just like giggle like a schoolgirl catching white bass. That tells you something about it.
That's why you do it. Oh, for sure. No, it's a special resource we have, and it is underutilized, I think, in a lot of cases. And people don't really search them out with boats. Most people that fish them are on shore, but I mean, there's schools of thousands out in the middle of the lake as well. And on a calm day, you can just see them bubbling out there. It's kind of fun. Just start pitching at them and just one after another.
Well, and it's nice to have that resource available to
Yeah.
you. So if people are going to come and fish, like if the walleye guys just are hardcore walleye guys, then if more people are going to be fishing a lake, it's like, well, okay, you guys go fish the
Yeah.
you know, you guys go fish the white bass, we'll fish the walleyes, the perch, you know, we'll go fish the perch, whatever. You
Absolutely.
can kind of split it up a little bit. So that brings up a question that I hear a lot from people, especially if they've never been to Devil's Lake before. Is it a lake to do it yourself on? Is it a lake that you should hire a guide on? What do you tell people?
That's a pretty easy one for me. If you're coming for the first time, I do highly recommend a guide. I do. It's just because of that change and fluctuation every year, it's good at least your first day, come out, talk to a guide, pick their brain. And it doesn't have to just be all about catching fish. It's good to just learn the lake. Okay. So then they'll kind of tell you where to go, where not to go. And people do that all the time. It's very common up here. And I think the guides are very, accommodating to that, which is nice. If you do want to come do it yourself, you can. Be very careful. The first thing I would recommend is a good map chip. And what a lot of guides are using, and maybe you've already talked about it, but we use a lot of satellite imagery here.
Yeah.
And specifically, I'll just be honest, we use the 1990 map for whether it's
Before the
Lawrence
flooding.
so that one is kind of when the lake was the lowest in recent memory. And it shows a lot of, underwater structure, whether it's houses or barns or tree rows, and those are unbelievable structure, obviously, for catching fish. But it also gives you an idea when you're cruising across the lake, oh, there used to be a shelter belt here. We better maybe avoid that, even though it's, 25 feet underwater. You just never know. So, yeah, you can do it yourself. I do recommend hiring a guide. But, yeah, it's pretty forgiving as long as you stay kind of away from those areas. If it looks bad, it probably is type deal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, yep.
All right. Well, what kind of boats can they come by from you here?
Yeah, so we're now just a pontoon dealer as far as boats go. We do take in used boats. Obviously, we've got a couple used ones out there. We've got a Warrior right now and a couple other really nice nitros. Yeah, for sure. So, but we're an Avalon dealer, number one. That's what we sell. And then we got the Easy Go golf carts and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're more of the. But I will. Not to just say pontoons are for cruising, which they are, but Avalon has an excellent line of fishing pontoons as well. And that's really taking off on this lake. And if you think about it, why not? I mean, it's perfect, right? You can put a lot of people on them, and, a pontoon these days can do everything that a fancy big walleye fiberglass boat can do, basically, put a nice trolling motor on it, and they're comfortable. These tri-tunes now on these boats are, I will tell you what, they will crush any wave that a big Nitro or a big Vexus or any of those boats will take. It's unreal. They're just so comfortable. And you won't even spill your coffee.
I couldn't believe it when we were down in Florida,
Yeah.
fishing. We were fishing Charlotte Harbor, but
Yeah.
we saw a couple of pontoons rolling through there. Like, what?
Yeah, you don't think of
Pontoon
that.
in the ocean?
I mean, especially like a twin tuber, those aren't maybe the best for the bigger waves, but like I said, these new tri-tunes with the different wake dispersal stuff they got on them they're dry, they're comfortable, and I mean, you can do 40, 50 miles an hour across the lake in like 3-foot waves. Like, it's insane.
All right, Jared.
Yeah.
P12.
Yeah, P12, you bet.
I'm sorry,
Pokrzywinski.
Pokrzywinski.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Good to meet you.
Thanks.
Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal win for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20.
All right, Johnnie Candle joins us now here on the show. Johnny, how you doing?
Pretty good. Well, considering the weather, I'm doing pretty good.
What do you do? It's one of those things, and we're here to help promote Devil's Lake and learn a little bit more about it. Obviously, the fishery is the crown jewel, and we'd love to be out there right now. But people know that it's a good fishery. So we're going to learn a little bit more about some of the other things that you can do when you come to Devil's Lake, because inevitably, you come out here, there's always a chance for some bad weather. That's why I always tell people, if you're going to go on a fishing trip, on a vacation or a guided trip, you should do at least 3 days.
Absolutely.
Because then you have the chance to at least have one good weather day. You might have one great fishing day, one maybe tough day, and then maybe a weather day. But with 3 days at least, you have a chance to really get a break from the weather.
Absolutely. And I've said it as well to my clients, is that there's so much other things to do when you go somewhere, right? I've been a tournament angler for many, many years, retired from that, now guide here. But I've hired plenty of guides in my lifetime. I love to experience other fisheries. Yeah. And every time I go on a fishing trip, I bank on a day where I'm not fishing. Sure. And spend hours online trying to find what else is here, right? If you go to Venice, Louisiana to fish for redfish, and you don't spend a day in New Orleans, you should just smack your head against a brick wall, right?
That sounds like no fun.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's Devil's Lake. We're in the middle of the prairie. We're not a real big city. But there's a lot of cool stuff here and not that far away. I mean, one of the corny family vacation type sites is an hour down the road, the Geographical Center of North America in Rugby, North Dakota, right? Yeah. Would I make a trip just to go there? No. If I can't go fishing, it's kind of cool to go stand next to this big spire that says, I'm on the Geographical Center of North America, right? It's kind of neat to do that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of things that you can do to keep you busy around Devil's Lake.
I got a funny story about that, actually. When I had first moved to North Dakota, and I was living in Fargo. In fact, I think it might have been around the time I was having you on the radio doing fishing reports. But I was going to, there used to be a music festival in Botno called I think it was Rock in the Hills.
Absolutely.
And I'd never been up there before, and so I'm leaving from Fargo to drive up there, and at the last minute, somebody else that did stuff at the radio station was like, well, because it was a radio promo to go up there and help promote the festival. So all of a sudden, like, my boss like, yeah, this other guy's going to jump in the truck with you and you're going to head up there. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I'm like, so do you know how to get there? He goes, yep. I'm like, perfect. Like, this is a little pre-phone GPS time, you know? So he's like, yep, I know how to get there. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're going through Rugby. And he's like, this is the Geographical Center of North America. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a sign that says, turn here for Rock in the Hills. And I'm like, I think that's what it says. And he's, oh, look at this, Geographical Center of North America. I'm like, were we supposed to turn back there? I was, oh, no, it turns right outside of town up here. Well, we got almost to Minot before he's like, I think we need to turn around.
We missed the turn.
And I'm like, oh, you mean like a couple of hours ago or whatever it was? So, but yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, there's the old missile silos and, you know, so there is some pretty neat stuff. People don't realize that North Dakota is pretty well armed, or has been pretty well armed over the years.
They say they're empty.
They say they're
rattle
empty.
the gate one day and see how empty they are. Black Suburbans pull up and guys with sunglasses on, and it's like, they're not empty. I don't buy it.
Right. So are you from here?
I am not. I'm a Ohio native, born and raised in Northeast Ohio. 60 miles or so outside of Cleveland. Went to college at the University of Akron. If you're a sports fan, college sports fan, the Akron Zips are known for what is a zip, right? No one knows what the mascot is.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, neither does anybody. I went to school there for 5 years. I don't know what a zip is till this day. So no one knows what they are. I think they just made it up so everybody asks what's a zip.
That's brilliant, actually.
But yeah, so grew up in Northeast Ohio.
Left Lake Erie to come to Devil's
son of a
Lake.
Lake Erie charter boat captain. I've had my Coast Guard captain's license since I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Ran several charter boats, not just for my father, but I filled in for other captains for many years till I moved to North Dakota. My first introduction to North Dakota was tournament fishing. Came out and fished Lake Sakakawea. Met a gal there, right? There's always a woman involved in stories like this, and ended up married, moved to North Dakota, then got unmarried 4 years later. And that's when I moved from Lake Sakakawea to Devil's Lake, and I've been here ever since. So the year 2000 is when I moved here.
Okay.
And other than my winter home in Florida, I have no desire to live anywhere else. It's looking out the window at nature's playground. It's got everything I need to run my guide service and a good business. The fishing is rock solid. The community is really nice, and it's a good size, right? 7,500 people, so big enough to have the services you need, but not so big that I feel like I'm in a city.
Right.
Right. So I can't go wrong. It's the winters can be a little harsh if you're not into winter.
Well, that's why.
But that's why I go south in the winter, right? So it's okay. But no, I absolutely love it here. It's a great place.
Well, it's a great place to hunt and fish. Obviously, it's a world-class fishery here. We just came back from Punta Gorda, though. And
it's a world-class fishery too.
Second time now Dan and I have fished down in Florida.
You think a tarpon would live in Devil's?
Let's find out.
Kind of salty.
Let's find out, because after we tarpon fished down there, holy smokes, and Goliath grouper, and we caught some mangrove snappers and snook and all of that stuff. And the first time I growing up, I didn't, I grew up in Minnesota walleye or bass, pike, walleye fishing, whatever. Never had the itch to go fish the ocean, because I just felt like we're on big boats with big waves and we're out with big giant heavy gear. It doesn't look like much fun, whatever. And then the first time I hooked into a snook on a spinning rod, and the thing tried to, a walleye shaped fish that fights like a bass, but 10 times harder because it's an ocean fish trying to stay away from sharks and barracudas and whatever. The fight was so unreal, and I called that, what did I call it, panic fishing or chaos fishing or something like that. It was just pure chaos. And we hooked into a shark. Dan hooked into a Goliath grouper that day that didn't, he just thought he was snagged because he wasn't moving the fish, and it finally just broke off. And then when we came back down and fished for tarpon and Goliaths again here this last time, I want to go back. And the more we do it, the more we want to spend winters down there, I think.
It's addicting. It's addicting.
Summer's here, winter's down there.
Right.
I could see it. So you talked about tournament fishing a little bit. You're not doing that anymore.
Nope. I gave that up 3 years ago now. This will be my 4th summer without the tournament world. It was time, right? I'm not going to say I don't have a little competitive fire still, but not enough to try to compete for a living, right? There's a reason, and it's not all physical, why pro athletes very rarely make it past 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right? It's just so hard to keep that competitive edge and drive. And it hit me the last year I fished when I'm sitting there and they're playing the national anthem, and in 16 seconds they're going to tell you to drive, and you're idling up to the boat and you're like, I really don't care, right? I mean, it hit me hard. It's like, I got nothing to prove. Done this for 28 years. I've got trophies this tall from winning the right tournaments. I've got plenty of tournaments with no trophies. I've got lots of stories, and winning another one does what, right? I mean, Tom Brady would have stayed playing football and won another Super Bowl. Would have really changed anything, right? I mean, there hits a point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. There's more to life than chasing this around the country. And I'm kind of glad I did it, right? I get to stay home now, sleep in my own bed a lot more, which is really nice. My family enjoys that I'm home. Well, I think they enjoy that I'm home more. I'm not real certain about that. But again, to be here in Devil's Lake, I've got everything I need to keep me going on the lake, right? Talked about this with a lot of people, right? But I talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of great fisheries in the country, not a lot that are as multifaceted as Devil's Lake. And what I mean by that, and it really helped my tournament career, I can go out here and fish a jig and wrap and catch walleye. I can go out here and cast a jig and catch a walleye. I can go out here and slip bobber and catch a walleye. I can pull Lindy rigs around and catch a walleye. I control planer boards or lead core or any technique you want to do. I can come to Devil's Lake and do it. There's not a lot of places you can say that. Is Lake Erie a better fishery than Devil's Lake? Arguably, you could say yes, but it's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
You go out there and troll around and troll around and troll around, and after you drug a couple 8-pounders in behind a planer board, it's really not all that exciting anymore, right? You go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, again, there's a handful of techniques guys utilize on that fishery. Did they catch bigger fish than we do here? Yeah. Did they catch more? I don't think so. But it's one-dimensional. Go to the Mississippi River. If you don't like current, you're screwed. You can't go fish comfortably. You got to work on the river. Well, here you can kind of relax. You can fish how you want.
You can fish a barn.
Absolutely. Catch fish from under a bridge, over a flooded building, get stuck on a guardrail. You never know what's going to happen. So
craziest thing
I love
ever.
it here.
First time I ever fished along a guardrail. I'm like, what are we doing? He goes, this is a bridge.
Yeah.
We're fishing guardrails.
Yeah.
So we're pulling spinners along a
Oh,
guardrail.
yeah. Absolutely.
It's insane.
Or anchor up on an old piece of farm equipment, throw 4 bobbers over it, and pluck walleyes out of an old chisel plow, right? It happens quite often here, and pretty unique that way.
So people can jump in a boat, you can guide them, and then they can also watch you online.
Yes, I do a live Devil's Lake fishing. I don't want to call it a report because they're 35, 40, 45 minutes long. So a clinic on the current conditions, what the lake is like, what you can expect when you get here, water levels, water temperatures, water clarity, right? What's the weather been? How are the fish set up? Where should you go? What should you use? And then not just saying, put on a white swim bait. I walk through how I'm fishing it, lift, drop, steady retrieve. What does it take to put these fish in a boat? And I get it. I'm not the only guy on the lake. There's many, many other ways to catch them than I talk about. But it's real up to the minute. This is what happened yesterday and today, and I spill my guts. And because it's a big lake. I got plenty of spots to go fish, but they're very, very popular. We'll get several thousand views of every seminar. First Wednesday of every month from May through October. And if you miss it live, they're automatically stored on social media. So my personal one and the Visit Devil's Lake ND
on
Facebook pages,
okay.
They're stored, they're archived, so you can go in and look at them for 3 years back, right? And I get a lot of comments about, wow, we watched your video and came and did what you said and it worked. And I'm like, well, it better. It better work. Because if it doesn't work, I'm not catching them either, because that's what I'm doing out there.
Right.
So, yeah, very, very popular. I love the questions and answers. I have, it's kind of hard on social media. Text. I have to read typed questions and all that, but I do the best I can to answer everyone's questions and help out. And it's been a fun project for the last couple of years. And I think it's going to continue for a while. People really enjoy it.
So there's one question I think everybody wants to know is how, as a fishing guide or someone that spends a lot of time in the water, how do you get rid of the sunglass tan?
A lot of sunscreen, and you fish without a hat every third day. That's my secret, right? So every third day the hat stays on the dash unless the sun gets so bad I can't stand it. But yeah, I wear a lot of sunscreen, and cloudy days like today, I try to fish without sunglasses. And it sounds really vain, and I'm not that person, but it's doing things like this with these bright lights where if you have the sunglass tan, it like jumps out at you, right? It's like, I don't like looking like that.
Well, not just
I got to
that.
go out in public, right?
I mean, there's some health issues too.
There are. Sunglasses are very, very important, right? I'm not advocating don't wear sunglasses,
Right.
don't wear a hat, but it's a lot of SPF 50, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously where the sunglasses are, you don't need it, but all around where the sunglasses are, I got this white zinc outline on my face almost every day, right? So
and I've always hated wearing sunscreen when I fish because I
hate the scent.
I don't want the scent on my fingers. So I can't remember who makes it, but I found it at Walmart, and it looks like a stick of deodorant.
I've used that.
And
you smear it on. Or like a stick of glue your
Yeah.
kids use in school or something. Yeah, I've used that with good luck before too.
So there's your tip of the day
yeah.
right there. All right, Johnny, how do people reach you?
JohnnieCandle.com. It took me months to figure out that website name, right? I agonized over it for years and years and years. But JohnnieCandle.com has all my social media links on there. It's got my phone number, my email address, everything you need to know is on there. Or type my name into Facebook or Google or wherever, and you'll get tired of reading about me. It's pretty easy to find me. So that's the best way.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show once again. It's
anytime.
I think we've had you on this show, but I'm trying to remember back when we had you on the fan in Florida. That was years ago.
Long time ago.
Anyway.
Long time ago. All right, man.
See ya.
Yep. Thank you.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.